Hello, everyone. It is Wednesday, and you know what that means. It is time for our Texans for the Arts weekly Wednesday advocacy update. I'm here with my fearless leader, Ann S. Graham, Executive Director of Texans for the Arts, and a friend and colleague of ours, Texas Folklife Operations Manager, Gabi Kane. So with that, Ann, I will throw it to you.
Great. Thank you so much. Always good to be here on a Wednesday afternoon and just give you some nuggets of information that are new coming your way and sometimes familiar for us, but we always learn something new and want to share that. Before I introduce Gabi Kane, I just want to just give my own introduction to Texas Folklife. I moved to Texas in 1994, so do the math. That's 28 years ago almost. And I was not a Texas girl. And I figured, well, if I'm in Texas, I better learn about what's really kind of the roots and the history and the origins of Texas. And I learned about and met the staff of Texas Folklife. And I thought, if there's one organization I'm going to follow, I'm going to be a member of, I'm going to support, it's Texas Folklife. And all these years I've been a member, and I just believe so strongly in the work that you're doing and how you really make and bring to life sort of the history of the arts and culture sector in the state, and how you have so many programs that help perpetuate and grow and nurture future folk art makers and folk life makers. So proud to be a member of the work that you do, and also really proud of the fact that you're leading advocacy organization, and we're really happy to partner with you and Texas Folklife, and I know you can speak to that. So I'm going to turn the floor over to Gabi, and also just give a shout out that Gabi was an intern with Texans for the Arts now 2 years ago, maybe 2+, and a very valuable resource and asset, as our interns are. And we're just thrilled that you went on and are now part of the Texas Folklife family, because that way we get to keep your work close to home, and we really appreciate that. So Gabi, the floor is yours, and share more about Texas Folklife, please.
Thank you so much for that wonderful introduction, Anne. It's so great to be able to continue our relationship and partnership through the arts. And as you said, it's been 2 years now that I've been with Texas Folklife. And so a little bit more about the organization. We're a statewide nonprofit dedicated to preserving, celebrating, presenting the diverse cultures and living heritage of the Lone Star State. And since 1984, we've supported artists and tradition bearers and communities through, a range of cultural programming and opportunities to share traditions that are either self-taught or passed down from generation to generation. We have a range of education programs, exhibits, performances, and we really have, a rich connection to so many different communities across the state. And we love getting to do the work we do. And it's all thanks to, the advocacy efforts that you all do at Texas for the Arts that we have a lot of these opportunities. So it's important that we, maintain this partnership that we have together. And it's, as you said, it's been so great to go from interning with you all to applying the work at a nonprofit and getting to see behind the scenes, how important advocacy is to our programming. Mm-hmm. And there's several ways that our organization maintains a really engaged role in advocacy in the statewide level. And one of those ways is participating in conversations and formal ask with our leaders. Going to the TFA Arts Advocacy Day is always something we look forward to during the legislative session. And this session, we joined you all with some representatives and senators to make formal asks to secure funding. And so, it's really important that we get to tell our representatives the role that culture bearers play in the different communities across the state. And another way we get to engage in advocacy is by filing, celebratory resolutions. Mm-hmm. In this legislative session, the House of Representatives adopted a resolution honoring the participants in our apprenticeships in the folk and traditional arts program. In this program, we provide a stipend for a mentor artist to teach, the next generation an apprentice a certain craft or tradition. And so we're really grateful to Representative Gina Hinojosa for her support of the arts in carrying that bill. Those are great ways to, to honor their commitment to preserving our state's cultural heritage. And more recently, Representative Bobby Guerra had a member resolution made to honor Johnny Joe Gutierrez. He's one of our Big Squeeze Youth Accordion Contest winners. And so he got to acknowledge Johnny Joe as an emerging talent in our state in the conjunto music genre. So these resolutions are just great ways, to celebrate our community with our leadership and keep them involved and informed of all the great news and talent coming from the state.
And Texas Folklife, being a statewide organization, is also part, like Texans for the Arts is a statewide organization. You're also part of the national network of other folklife organizations as well, correct? So
That's right.
you've got the relationship kind of with NEA funding and the national network. So can you share just a little bit about that? I think that's sort of exciting. We know that while we're a statewide organization, the national role is really important when it comes to congressional support, like we're doing the pandemic relief supports now. And just finding that peer relationship and looking at other statewide folklore organizations and how they work and how you collaborate. What's some of the stories behind there?
Yeah, absolutely. As you mentioned, we are an apprenticeship. We are a folklore program that is partnered with the State Arts Partnership Award with the National Endowment of the Arts, and so through that we are the state-sanctioned folk organization for the state of Texas. And we get to have many conversations with other folk and traditional programs across the country. And so we're really grateful to collaborate and, make community with see what other people are doing. And we also have, regional organizations, regional groups of folk and traditional organizations. So we're able to engage, more closely. And there's, economic and funding opportunities that we have through regional groups. And so it's just wonderful to be a part of this national network of other folk and traditional organizations. And we're always so grateful to, reach out and have dialogue with them and just continue growing awareness across the nation about how important it is to preserve and present these traditions.
And then you've also done some statewide convenings. I remember, at least I've been to one of them, where you're bringing folk life leaders, administrators, artists together. Well, regional, a couple of times I think they were in person, and now just everything is still virtual. But that was a really neat and important way to bring together people. I just remember how much sort of love and appreciation there was in the room to just have fellow people who understand the work that you're doing and to build those connections. I just remember that was a powerful experience.
It was so nice. Thanks to the Texas Commission on the Arts, we were able to host that statewide convening, which you spoke at. And we got to bring people from all corners of the state to come together around folk and traditional arts and have wonderful conversations about, for example, how are we going to have conjunto recognized as a UIL genre and other things like that. So it was wonderful. In 2019 was the last time we had that statewide convening and making sure we have a network of folklorists or tradition bearers across the state who are aware of all the things going on across the state. We've continued that through formalizing this network through we have a network of Texas, traditional network of Texas folklorists and tradition bearers and educators. So it's been wonderful to create this and to maintain these virtual meetings throughout the pandemic to see what everyone's working on throughout the state.
I also think about, and jumping back to some of the programming that you do, you really look at this sort of holistic from not just sort of more of the traditional Texas things like cowboy hats and saddles and boots and sort of the paraphernalia, but you do like radio, storytelling, broadcasting, you've done culinary, cooking, food, you've done, metalwork, welding, gate making, to leather working and tooling. When I'm thinking of mentorship and education, you certainly do music, the Accordion Kings and Queens, and the youth accordion programs, you dance, music. I mean, there's just so much that you foster. So I've participated in a lot of those. That's why they come to mind. But you have so many ways that people can interact with your organization, and you work a lot with young people and in educational settings. So you really do an encyclopedic approach here to folk life.
Absolutely. It's quite a spread. It's a lot to keep up with, but it's so wonderful to engage in all the different traditions of our state.
Mhm.
And, we have such a diverse cohort, for example, in the apprenticeship program this year, from classical Indian dance to danza azteca, indigenous dance troops, Creole, Cajun music, and accordion making, and just such a rich diversity that we're really great to continue emboldening.
Mhm. And I think a new arena that you've just started to work on as well, which is of paramount importance as we speak, and that is entering the COVID-19 discussion and looking from creative perspective. How do we use our artists and how do we use our thought leaders to help spread important factual information about the role of wearing masks, of getting vaccinations, et cetera, especially as we deal with the Delta variant. So can you explain a little bit and share? I know there are some other state models and people who are working on using artists and artists as a vehicle to communicate this. And tell us a little bit about the program that you all have kicked off with Texas Folklife.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for the opportunity to share more about this campaign. We called it Hechos no miedo, facts not fear. And so we had an opportunity with the support of Austin Public Health to engage in dialogue in conjunction with local cultural leaders and community groups to get a sense of the conversation people were having around the vaccine in their homes, at work, their place of worship, etc. And so, we come across these patterns of communities of color being disproportionately affected by COVID. And, our leadership is acknowledging that there's barriers to vaccine access, educational resources, and vaccine hesitancy that have all contributed to a lower vaccination rate among the Latino community. So we wanted to, engage in dialogue and see if there's a way that we could find a folk and traditional cultural way of addressing facts around the vaccine. And so our project lead, Kate Murray, pioneered these wonderful community spaces with medical experts, nurses, educators, artists, faith leaders, all sorts of people, different walks of life, to join together and bring as many perspectives as possible to this project. And, so we really wanted to be sensitive to the fact that our staff alone couldn't be the only contributors to this effort, that needed medical expertise and, sensitivity to the lived experiences of different communities. And we learned so much from dialogue. And we also created community surveys to get a sense of what people's specific attitudes were, their barriers to vaccines, any hesitancies around the vaccine. Exploring what are the different media outlets where they get their information from. So we had hundreds of people respond to our community surveys. So we spend a lot of time in the front end listening to the community. And then in the second half of the project, we got to engage with artists and different community collaborators to produce arts-based public health messaging for these communities that have experienced, disproportionately high levels of COVID infections during the pandemic. So to this date, we have 4 different PSAs. One being a Spanish language message for populations that might be more recent Mexican immigrant populations in Central Texas. That one features huapango music by Los Trovadores and some baile folklorico dancers. The second PSA is a Spanglish message in English and Spanish for a younger Latinx audience, featuring San Jorocho music of Huateque Son, a local band, and some more ballet folklorico dancers. And the third project, which I was so happy to get to produce, is a Spanish language message for an older, more established Chicano community here in East Side Austin, featuring the music of Johnny Degollado, a really respected accordionist, and the muralist Raul Valdez. So I had so much fun getting to work with these legends. And the fourth and final one is more of a community dialogue. It's an English message for Black and African American audiences, directed by the musician Mobley. It's a dialogue about the vaccine and the Black experience. So we're really lucky to collaborate with such wonderful artists on this, and we're really hoping people are taking the time to recognize these leaders and what they're saying about the vaccine, and hopefully it's making them consider, if they haven't already, to take that.
And how can people who are watching this find copies of the PSAs? Are those on your social media platforms? I know they're on ours because we've been sharing them.
Yes, absolutely. If you visit texasfolklife.org, there's a link on the front page to our Hechos No Miedo, Facts Not Fear PSA series. We have them on our YouTube channel, Texas Folklife as well. And, stay tuned. There may be more coming in the series. So we really look forward to continuing exploring the relationship between arts and health.
Well, we really, really appreciate that. And it's an important way to have lots of different ways that we communicate with the population in terms of getting this important information out. So congratulations on that. And
Thank you.
the more people who access those sites and share them on their own social media, the more that information will get out there. So it is 4:16. We usually try to wrap up in 15 minutes on our weekly Wednesday update. Anything else you want to add? Direct people to your website, your social media, support Texas Folklife and the work that they do.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. We're really grateful for our members and contributors who help make all this wonderful work possible. So, please visit us, texasfolklife.org, and consider becoming a member.
Great. Well, thank you all so much. And we look forward to seeing everybody next Wednesday at 4 o'clock for our weekly Wednesday advocacy update. Thanks a lot. Thank you.